much for taking your time to come. We will start off with our Mangalacharan prayers, but if that's okay, I promise you that if you move forward and sit in the front, I won't ask you questions first. In fact, today I might extend the favor to the very last. I'm just I'm not going to ask any questions. You have to ask questions and I have to answer. That's how it works. But just to be aware that we have more devotees coming in. So just I'll be calling out.
I haven't done it before, so I don't know. But,
So we'll start with the Mangalacharan prayers. Om
Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Veda Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantitam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Gurukamalam Shri Guru Vaishnava Shri Rupam Sadvajatanam Sadhamana Prabhunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvabhutam Parijanam Vihitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sakana Lalitam Shri Vishakanitam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dhinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Sapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Paramami Hari Priye Vanchakalparubhrisha Kripa Sindhu Vaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamine Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya-dekshadaine.
So which verse are we in the 4th chapter? Yeah, last time we started with the 4th chapter. Please raise your hand if you are coming for the very first time. Hare Krishna, welcome. Thank you for coming. Hare Krishna. These are your parents?
Yes.
Alright, we will come. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. And what's your name, sir? Rangana. And your name? Kripa. And Manasvi. Very nice. Yeshu. Thank you for coming, and
Our pleasure.
it's we are delighted to have you today, and I'm so grateful that you could make your time. You had something to say? Yes. All right. And so in the interest for those who just joined, for the first time, I'll just give a 30-second recap on what we read in Gita so far. We completed three chapters of Gita, where the first chapter Arjuna declines to fight the war of Gita, citing many personal, social, spiritual, and moral reasons on why he shouldn't fight the battle of Kurukshetra. And in the end of the first chapter, Arjuna makes up the mind that I will not fight. And in the second chapter, which consists of 72 verses, Krishna first of all expresses surprise on why you are not fighting. And after a little bit of back and forth, then Krishna says that due to my unsteady state of mind, I am unable to understand what is beneficial for me. So please tell me, I am your student, I am a soul surrendered unto you, please instruct me. And Krishna instructs Gita. And the very first lesson Krishna mentions in Gita is that the soul and the body are two different. The soul is eternal, never perishable, never changing, but the body is eternally changing. And he mentions a couple of examples. Then the latter part of the second chapter, the second half of the second chapter, Krishna mentions how by performing one's duty without expecting the result. We heard the famous words, Karmanyeva Adhikaraste, correct? And then Krishna ends the second chapter by telling or explaining how a person can become very steadily situated in spiritual life or become a person of steady intelligence, sthita prajna. In the third chapter, Krishna explains about Karma Yoga, that in spite of having a theoretical knowledge, it is not sufficient because the karmic reactions or the karmic force is so strong that it will make us work. And in the third chapter, Krishna actually explains about the Jnana Yoga or the Karma Yoga, where he explains what is the nature of work, how the work can bind, how the work can liberate, and how to know the difference between both. In the fourth chapter, the title is Jnana Yoga, and Krishna explains to Arjuna that, hey Arjuna, I spoke this knowledge millions of years ago to sun god Vivashvant, who in turn spoke to his son Ikshvaku, and Ikshvaku spoke to Manu. And we are in that particular trail where Krishna is. In the first time in Gita, Krishna explains a little bit about himself, how he is born and so on and so forth. Where are we?
Just beginning to I think so.
Yeah, beginning. Okay. We can just second verse, it's fine. We can start from here if you want to.
Yes.
Can you repeat after me? Evam parampara praptam
Evam parampara praptam
Imam rajarshayo viduhu
Imam rajarshayo viduhu
Sakalaneha mahata
Sakalaneha mahata
Yogo nashta parantapa
Yogo nashta parantapa.
This supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciple succession, and the Serenity kings understood it in that way. But in course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost.
So, you remember last time I mentioned in Gita that Krishna told Arjuna that he will fight. Right? In the 18th chapter, I don't know how many people remember, but we went to a verse in the 18th chapter where Krishna said, now out of your false ego you are declining to fight, but spurred by your nature, you will fight anyways. Correct? Do you remember that particular verse? Yeah. Where Krishna said that you will, no matter what, you will fight. Hare Krishna, welcome. And in the first chapter, he says, I will not fight. Correct? So far, so good. In the 18th chapter, for those who were not there in the class, Krishna mentions that now you are declining to fight, but born of your nature, anyway you will fight. I mean, how many times a mother has said that, today I don't feel like eating. And morning you make a decision that you will not cook. By afternoon you are in the kitchen just turning on the light. Yes or yes? Because the nature is such, you are forced to work in this world. So Krishna mentions to Arjuna in the 18th chapter that he will anyway fight. So the question comes is Krishna all-knowing? Is Krishna Antaryami? He can see past, present and future, correct? So he knows that Arjuna is eventually going to fight, correct? Then what's the point in talking Gita? Am I making logic? What is the point in talking Gita when Krishna knows Arjuna is anyway going to fight helplessly because he's a warrior? It's one of his nature.
For us?
For us, that is true. But here Krishna is mentioning in this verse that supreme science that I spoke is lost because of time. For us, and to establish that knowledge for the humanity, then Krishna again speaks this. Because he could have just said, Arjuna, take a hike, just relax, go take a shower, do meditation, come back in 2 hours and you will be ready to fight. I'll take a break, you will take a break. He spoke this knowledge. Here Krishna mentions why. That this knowledge has, over a period of time, has been appeared to lost. And the best part is if Krishna doesn't give knowledge, then nobody can give that knowledge. Because Krishna is beyond this material existence. He is the supreme absolute truth. He is the perfect source of all knowledge. Every other knowledge is actually tainted. And if Krishna is just like you and me, then reading Bhagavad Gita is meaningless. Correct? If you are, for some weird reason, you want to build a nuclear bomb, or whatever be the reason, don't try it at home. It's not even worth it. But assume you want to build a nuclear bomb, you can't be doing how to build a car engine, correct? Yes or yes? You need knowledge from a perfect source on how to build a nuclear bomb. So similarly, if Krishna is come to give us this knowledge, to deliver us from this world, then he has to be a person beyond this world. To tell what is going on. Correct? If I am sitting, by nature, my senses are very limited. If in the next room, I want to know what's happening, there should be a person in the next room telling me, or there is a camera in the next room, or there is something, yes or yes. Otherwise, I can say to Mukharand is asking like, oh, what's happening in the next room? I'll say, oh, well, there is TV going on, there are kids eating, there. I can make up any stories, but without having knowledge, it's meaningless, correct? Same way basically I should have the knowledge of beyond this world to kind of tell about my own nature. So far so good. Right? More verses. Text 3. Sa evayam maya tedya
Savevayam maya tedya
yoga prokta puratanaha
Yoga prokta puratanaha
bhaktosi me sakha cheti
Bhaktosi me sakha cheti
rahasyam jetaduttamam
Rahasyam etaduttamam.
That very ancient science of the relationship with the Supreme is today told by me to you because you are my devotee as well as my friend and can therefore understand the transcendental mystery of this science.
Thank you. So Krishna says that who can understand this knowledge is those who are Bhakta and Sakha of Krishna. Sakha means that a well-wisher of Krishna and Bhakta means a devotee. That is much easier. But Sakha can be little intriguing. Do you need to be a Sakha? No, Bhakta is the first qualification. Hare Krishna, welcome. Krishna. So far so good? Any questions? If you want, you can please move ahead. It's perfectly okay. Come. I promise you I have been domesticated by my spiritual master and I won't bite. Thanks for.
Yes.
Arjuna Vacha
Arjuna Vacha
Aparam Bhavato Janma
Aparam Bhavato Janma
Param Janma Vivasvatah
Param Janma Vivasvatah
Kadame Tadvijaniyam
Katamevad vijaniyam
Vamado Proktamaniti
Pramado Proktamanidhi.
Arjuna said, the sun god Vivaswan is senior by birth to you. How am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed this science to him?
Thank you. That's right. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Bahuni me vyatitani
Bahuni me vyatitani
Janmani tava charjuna
Janmani tava charjuna
Tanyaham Veda Sarvani
Tanyaham Veda Sarvani
Natvam Veta Parantapa
Natvam Veta Parantapa.
The personality of Godhead said, many births, both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot. O subduer of enemy.
Thank you. So Arjuna asks a very interesting question and it's a very logical question because Arjuna and Krishna were related how? They were cousins, thank you. And nobody said grandfather and cousins because they were of same age, they were almost equal age. And Arjuna asked a very valid question like sun god was born billions of years ago. You know, the science today agrees that, sun has been around for billions of years. And he just got born like recently. So how is it that you told sun god this particular knowledge? And Krishna answers the question, Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tava Arjuna. He says that, oh Arjuna, you and me have passed through many births. I remember all of them and you cannot. That is, in this very particular verse, Krishna is saying that there is something unique about him that we don't. So there is a differentiation. One thing with Krishna is, he mentions earlier also that his birth is not like our birth in this world. As I mentioned earlier, did anybody get a menu card before you were born? Like, male, female, black skin, white skin, which country you want to be born, with what kind of height you want. You get nothing. You just are born. Correct? And then, but Krishna's birth is not like that. It is very different. And he remembers all of his quote-unquote births. This is actually we can write a PhD thesis on just this particular verse. Like how does Krishna take birth? For a person who has no birth, how does he take birth? Why does he take birth? And how does he grow like us? Because in Vrindavan, Krishna's pastimes are very misleading to the people who are not devotees of Krishna, who think that Krishna is just like us. In fact, there is a very beautiful verse that mentions that Krishna as a god is something that not everybody can easily understand. It's really impossible to understand. Because Krishna, when he comes to this world, he will be exactly like you and me. You will not even notice that he is God. You will not even understand he is God. Unless he reveals himself, you will just think he is just. No. You want to know a verse from Bhagavatam should be read where 10 different people saw Krishna in 10 different ways. Not 9 or 10. We'll count as we go. Is that okay?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. The verse is 10, 43, 70. Yes, I'll set the scene before we read the verse. Krishna stayed in Vrindavan for all of 11 years. As we know the story of how he was born, when he was born, Vasudeva took him to Vrindavan and exchanged with the baby girl Yashoda had, and he brought back the baby girl to Kamsa's prison. And then for 11 years, Krishna grew in the village of Vrindavan. And not exactly Vrindavan, he is in Gokul, Mahavan, Vrindavan, few places like that. And he performed his pastimes, the acme of pastimes of Krishna is in Vrindavan. It's like, you cannot relish pastimes better than that. And for 11 years, he performed his pastimes. Now, the time came for Krishna to go to Mathura because King Kamsa had ordered Akrura to go and bring Krishna and Balaram from Vrindavan. Now, it was a very pathetic scene from the perspective of the devotees of Vrindavan or the residents of Vrindavan, that the love and the life of their lives Krishna was leaving to them. In any case, when Krishna comes to Mathura, he has few interesting encounters. He meets Kubja, he meets washerman, few things and all everything. And then, now the time has come where Kamsa wanted to kill Krishna and Balaram, and he had employed a wrestling match. In the wrestling match, there were wrestlers that were 7 foot tall, while Krishna was a delicate, innocent, the most delicately formed body in the world. And then, to rub insult on top of it, or rather, you cannot insult Krishna, you can only insult yourself. So Kamsa had, he didn't need any major cameras in the event because the whole stadium was about to witness his death. So there was a whole stadium of people came to see, and then everybody knew Krishna and Balaram were like charming boys. So the residents of Mathura came, and the resident of Vrindavan also accompanied Krishna and Mathura to Krishna and Balaram to Mathura. So everybody was there in the arena. This was a huge arena, and there were like wrestling matches, and you can imagine. Super Bowl or World Cup or whatever, to the extent, the excitement was there in the air. So there were all sorts of people there, the sophisticated and urban ladies of Mathura, and then the men of Mathura, and the rather rustic people of Vrindavan, and then Krishna and Kamsa's ministers, and there was a whole other thing. And then Kamsa had also arranged for elephants to kind of kill Krishna, to trample. So in this beautiful arena that the scene is set, Krishna is walking with Balaram. And this particular verse describes that particular scene of Krishna walking with Balaram towards the arena. Alright, verse. Kindly repeat after me. Mallanam Shinirnam Naravaram.
Mallanam Shinirvinam Naravara.
Trinam Smaro Murtinam.
Trinam Smaro Murtinam.
Gopanam Svajano Hitam. Gopanam Svajano Satam Kshitibhujam.
Gopanam Svajano Satam Shitibhujam.
Shastasva Pitro Shishu.
Shastasva Pitro Shishu.
Mrityur Bhojapatir Virada Vidusham.
Mrityurvojapater virata vidusha.
Tattvam param yogina.
Sangam Gata Sagraja.
Hare Krishna. The various groups of people in the arena regarded Krishna in different ways when he entered it with his elder brother. The wrestlers saw Krishna as a lightning bolt. The man of Mathura as the best of mules. The woman as Cupid in person. The cowherdman as their relative. The impious rulers as a gesture. His parents as the child. The king of Bhojas as death. The unintelligent as the Supreme Lord's universal form. The yogis as the absolute truth, and the Varsnis as the supreme worshipable deity.
So you can see 9 different people saw 9 different ways the same Krishna. It is not that Krishna has constantly, you have that, you remember you have that photo, no, you have that photo. You see that, you turn around, everybody, right? It's like you turn around like this, and it's not like somebody was putting on glasses and you see Krishna differently and take off the glasses. No. It is the same Krishna, but different people were seeing differently. The first starts is that Mallana Mashin. So the wrestlers, they didn't see him as a soft, delicate boy. In fact, it is mentioned that Krishna's feet are so delicate that the gopis say, when you place your feet on our chest, we feel that our chest is too hard for your feet. There is a gopi Gita, but take it for now, we can continue. But the gopis saw Krishna's feet as like the most tender, and it just hurts. And they would say like, how can we feel so terrible that when you go to the forest to herd the cows and the calves, there are thorns and pebbles that prick your feet, because Krishna had made a vow that I will never go to the forest of Vrindavan with my shoes on. And when Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda insisted that Krishna should have shoes, then Krishna said, please provide shoes for all these millions of cows, then I will also have shoes. And they were like, they dropped the idea immediately. So that tender feet of Krishna and the tender body of Krishna, which is so delicately formed, these wrestlers saw it as thunderbolt. They saw this man is, this personality is a thunderbolt. And the ordinary people thought he was the best of the men. Like you see that there is in a community or some other place, there is the best of the persons in terms of beauty or wealth or education or whatever. So ordinary people saw him as the best. Women saw him as a personification of Cupid. And you can just see the beautiful, he aroused the Cupid in women. And then the residents of Vrindavan, he's our own village fellow. He's from our village. He's Mars. He's mine. Gopanam Swajano. But the rulers, they saw him as Asatam Kshiti Bhujam. They saw him, the person who's going to come and correct them. And Krishna says, Yada Yada Dharmasya Glane Bhoti. That verses will come in the next. The ruler saw that he is there to come to chastise us. Satam Kshiti Bhujam. And then his father saw him as his own son. Shasta Swapitro Shishu. So the Nanda Maharaj said, this is my son. This is the same Krishna, mind you. And then what is the next one? Mrityur Bhoja Pater Virala Visham. That the king of Kamsa, that beautiful child Krishna, he saw him as personified death. Now, because Kamsa was scared of Krishna, he was afraid that the 8th child of Devaki is going to kill him, and the Narada had told him, the Akashvani had told him, and now he saw that same Krishna is my death personified. Mrityur Bhojapatir. Bhojapati saw him as Mrityu. Virada Vidusham. So those who are unintelligent yogis saw him as the universal form. And then Vishnu Padev, the Vishnu saw him as their worshipful Lord. It's the same Krishna. So Krishna, when he comes, it is not like he comes just like us. You have one form, that's it. For example, I see Rama as Ram. I don't. 10 people don't see him in different ways. There is a little bit of flavor in that. For example, I see him as my friend, but his parents will see him as a child. The same Rama is sitting here, and perhaps somebody will see him differently as well. So it is a possibility. But imagine if a one person can be seen in different ways by the people in this room, then the infinite Krishna, tell me how much can be seen by different people. So far so good. Any questions, comments? I've been speaking. Right. What is the time now?
7:50.
7:50. We'll do a few more verses of Gita, and at 8 probably we'll pivot to Srimad Bhagavatam. And then yesterday was Ram Navami, so maybe we'll touch a little bit on Ram Navami. Questions, comments? Do a few more verses. Yes.
I had one question.
Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. That you told that anyway Arjuna is going to fight
Hmm.
Kauravas. It's an antaryami, highest nature. So here the nature means is the person born with, I think 4 categories we divide: Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras. So is it the same means the nature mostly people are saying?
Yes. So just to give an expansion, Krishna says that whatever nature I have acquired, I helplessly act. You can see it's a very startlingly common in twins. They are born to the same parents at the same time. They are born and they are raised in the same atmosphere, yet their personalities are so different because their swabhava or nature that they acquired from their previous lives, they compel to act like that. So yes, if you are born with a certain nature, then you are forced to act, to kind of go in that. And then the 4 varnas is Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. And the 4 ashramas are also there. That is Brahmachari, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyas. So either you are in this varna or ashrama, you are forced to act according to that. Is your nature. Is that helpful?
Yes. And one more, it's I heard that it's called that peak always, or it's in our native language. So what is that one? Gusiri Prakriti Ponke Lote, Manisa Prakriti Male Lote. It means the peak always likes to be in that water there. But when man's nature will never change. It will change when you're up to your death. You cannot change your nature. So it's like it's the meaning of that particular.
I see. So basically, in English, if you translate, a human being can never change the nature, but an animal can.
No. Animal similar way, like the animal likes his nature always. It's the same application.
Oh, I see. Where are you reading Gita? Why is Krishna giving so many instructions of change? If your nature is set and you cannot change it, then why read Gita? If animals have their nature and humans have the nature, but humans have the higher consciousness to understand instructions of Gita and change. So if you don't have the potential to change, then Krishna's verses in Gita are meaningless. He's Antaryami, he knows anyway he will not change. Then why will you tell? So for example, if God forbid, a person is lame, he cannot walk, and you tell him, please run a marathon, you'll be talking to a very wrong person, because that nature person is fit, he can never walk. So in the same way, if you cannot change our nature and become transcendental or realize our spiritual nature, then why would Krishna say this? So definitely we can change our nature. In fact, that's the only thing we have. Because Krishna says in the Gita, there are four modes. If you want, please come a little bit ahead. Please. Thank you. Krishna says that there are 3 modes of material nature, which is Sattva-gun,
Rajagun,
Guna and Tamo-gun. So all the activities in this world are happening because people are pushed by that nature. People are pushed. So how people are pushed is based, one of the things is, then how do I get a particular nature? One of the things is how you associate, what you eat, how you deal. For example, Krishna says in the Gita, you eat sattvic food, you'll have sattvic state of mind. You eat rajasic food, you'll have a rajasic state of mind. You have tamasic food, you'll have a tamasic state of mind. So you have a choice on what you can eat, yes or yes. That's why we have a beautiful kitchen. The luxury for a human being. For animals, no. No, you cannot go to the tiger and say, please eat Rasgulla every day. Poor thing will die. Its nature is actually to eat red meat or meat of other animals. You capture a vulture and then food you rice, it will not eat. Because a vulture is by destiny has to find a dead body and has to eat the dead body. And natures are fixed. But human beings have a beautiful kitchen. Tomorrow, what can I cook? What can I do? Krishna has given me that evolved consciousness so that I can use my kitchen to kind of improve my spiritual life. But if you don't have spirituality, then you are accustomed to eating certain things, you continue eating that. Because that's what you like. I like this, and I cannot change it. But when I understand that this tamasic food can actually cause illness, and sattvic food is better for spiritual life, then I will change my diet. Correct? So, is making sense? Yes. Hare Krishna, welcome. More questions, comments? Somebody had a mic. I'm hearing the sound of the mic. Alright. We'll do a few more verses in the meantime. Everybody's comfortable? You need water, you need the temperature adjusted, just understand. Text 6. 4. 6. Yes, sir. Can you repeat after me? Ajopi san avyayatma
Ajopi san avyayatma
Bhutanam ishvaropi san
Bhutanam ishvaropi san
Prakritim swamadhishtaya
Prakritim swamadhishtaya
Sambhavamyatma mayaya
Sambhavamyatma mayaya.
Although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all living entities, by my internal energy I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form.
Thank you. Take 7. Yada yada hi dharmasya
Yada yada hi dharmasya
Glanirvavati bharata
Glanirvavati bharata
Abhyuttanama dharmasya
Abhyuttanam dharmasya
Tadatmanam srijamyaham
Tadatmanam srijamyaham.
Wherever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself.
Thank you. So it's not the world is just going on in a, I think here people will get a chance to read. So. It's not that the world is going on in a very random fashion. Sometimes you see the world and how the things are happening in the world, you get scared, yes or yes. Like, is there a control in this world or is everything going random? I mean, yeah, please use the mic.
It's a cyclic. It's up and down.
Up and down, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Krishna is saying that I'm carefully watching this world, and when there is a decline of irreligion, then I advent myself. Growing up, you watched movies there where hero comes and when there is so much of thing going on, it is based on Gita only. But wrong problem is that a hero cannot kill with impunity, like, it's just nonsense. But, you've seen all these movies where there is so much of violence and everything. There's like the bright light and there's the dramatic entry, and then they come and they do all this stuff. It doesn't work that way. I mean, you try doing it in real life, then you will immediately realize there's a police behind you, correct? Yes or no? I mean, it's not good. The reason is, I always thought about it. Krishna, we discussed earlier about how Krishna entered Mathura, correct? He approached a washerman and he said that they were from village, and they said, we are going to meet the king, we need nice clothes. And the washerman was very rude, condescending and abrasive, and he refused to give anything to Krishna. And then Krishna, he just literally, he took his hand, it was a straight hand, and he just chopped off the head. He didn't even use any weapon or anything. And the head got lopped off and fell aside. And then Krishna took the clothes and then walked nonchalantly. Nobody reported a 911 FIR crime against Krishna. He nonchalantly left into Mathura. The point is, only Krishna can do that. Don't believe what happens on the real screen or the movie screens. Just go. Only Krishna can come match. I thought about it, right? I just thought about it. Like, nobody even bothered. Bhagavatam doesn't mention he was in any kind of trouble. He is hiding and he is waiting. Nothing. Nobody even bothered to do anything to him. Because everything is under control of Krishna. Text. Yes. And you have to give it back to Anukha so that she can do it. Hari.
My question to you is, I was just reflecting that Satya, Treta and Dwapara, the amount of religious practices or the spiritual upkeep was really high. And if you see that Krishna has descended so many times, even though the religious principles were high. Now it's opposite, right? And Krishna has promised to come at the end of Kali. Then I understand he's there currently with us as in the form of scriptures, and also as he's there in the form of holy name. But why wait so long when right now there's just so much religiosity around us? Whereas as opposed to in the 3 yugas, looks like they did a lot of things right, but he still appeared so many times.
So please understand that Krishna, the scriptures mention that Krishna has many avatars. The category of avatars are different for Krishna. So Krishna has what is called guna avatars, which means that he is the modes of material nature as Brahma, Shiva and Vishnu. He is called guna avatar, which means that he comes having the guna adhipatis. Then there is yuga avatars, he comes in every yuga. Then there is Leela avatars, where he comes to show his pastimes. So it is not just Krishna comes only for yada. Sometimes he just comes for the pastimes, for displaying pastimes. Sometimes he comes because yuga is there, every yuga is there, Krishna will come. And the other point is, it is not that he was not needed in other yugas. For example, in Treta Yuga, you thought, oh, it must be so perfect. Ravan was there. Lord Ram came in Treta Yuga because Ravan was harassing him. There was no time that it was so great, and our time is not too terrible to the point. Yes, Kali Yuga is full of anomalies, there's no doubt about it. But it is not at any time people were safe. I'll tell you one more thing. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, we listened 500 years ago, what a life it must have been. People were traveling and having fun. Chaitanya Charitamrita mentions that there were people were traveling to holy places or pilgrimage or places to another. They had to travel on foot. And forests were infested with dacoits. Treta Yuga, Ravan and Kumbhakarna, they were creating havoc. And the havoc was on a very different level. Fortunately, we don't have mystic powers in today's Kali Yuga. The demons are like, gross people. But they had mystic powers. They could change forms. They could just do anything. Imagine that if you can change form. Good Lord, you can commit 2 murders and then you can change the form, and the camera will show there is an old person committing murder, you are a young person, no gone. You go rob a bank. Imagine changing your form was one of the mystic powers that people had, and they were still having that kind of negative things. In Dwapara Yuga, Krishna said, Mother Bhumi went to Krishna and said, Lord, this earth has become terrible. These demoniac people are just harassing me. Mother Bhumi, she went in the form of cow. She went to Vishnu or Brahma, and then Brahma went to Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, and then Krishna said, I'll come. So there is no time in this world where it is perfect. The only time perfect Bhagavatam mentions is in Satya Yuga, where there were no varnas, there was no Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya. Everybody was a Hamsa. Everybody was perfect. Satya Yuga was perfect. And even in Satya Yuga, the Lord came to give Vedic injunctions. People were needing the Vedic injunctions, so he didn't come to kill anybody. He didn't, Paritranaya Sadhanam was, Vinashaya Dushkritam was not happening, but Paritranaya Sadhanam was happening. Krishna's purpose is twofold. Paritranaya Sadhanam, Vinashaya Dushkritam. In the yugas where there is not much of Dushkritas, there is not much of Vinash. He comes to Paritranaya Sadhanam. Is that helpful? Thank you. We'll do one more verse, then what's the time? Okay. I think we'll stop here, we'll do Bhagavatam. But Anupam can read Bhagavatam. Any questions on Bhagavad Gita before we do? Yes, please.
A few questions actually.
Okay, I'll go for it.
Following on from your previous comment. Oh yes. Krishna. So in the first yuga, which is Satya Yuga, you said it's the most happiest time. And after Kali Yuga, if we are unlucky enough to be here, we will go to the Satya Yuga, right? After Pralaya?
Yes, it all depends. So if one is in Krishna consciousness or God consciousness, then one gets into Kali Yuga, Satya Yuga.
Oh.
But if I am, so here is the thing though. Till I have a question: do people eat beef in this age?
Yes.
Till Dwapara Yuga, to kill a cow was abominable. Even Maharaj Parikshit saw till the end of Dwapara Yuga, when he saw that there was a low class person who had dressed up as a Shudra willing to kill a cow, not even to eat, just to injure the cow, not even to kill the cow. Maharaj Parikshit was about to destroy that person who was nothing but Kali Yuga. Now, if a person has a desire to eat beef, you have to wait till Kali Yuga comes, then only take birth. Because where is the beef? If you don't have it. So you can see how based on one's desires, one can be in different yugas. If one is purified, then you go into Satya Yuga. But if you are a demoniac person, then Krishna says, really endeavor to understand spirituality and make good progress so that in the next life we start from where we. Is that okay?
Just on the same thing, so if let's say somebody is really fallen and he would be, let's say, destined to be in Kali Yuga, he would lay dormant through the entire next 3, because he cannot go outside this universe, right?
It's a possibility he can go, but it's a higher authority. At that time, we have no control. We are helpless. Where will we born? Maybe there is another. This universe is one of the unlimited number of universes. So Vishnu can send you to another universe as well.
Okay.
Yeah, where the time scale is different, and there is a Kali Yuga. So it's not impossible. The unlimited number of universes that we have. So it's a possibility. But you'll be just roaming in this world, no matter what.
And Prabhuji, 2 more questions related to soul.
Yes.
If it's okay?
Please.
Yeah, okay. So, in I think chapter 2, it says the soul is infinitesimally small, like we discussed last class. And why is it restricted to that particular size? Does it mean more quantity means it can be Krishna? Like, maybe it is not like.
So let me explain. There are unlimited number of souls, and the one way to understand is how much of what is the unit particle of the sun called? Sun, like that
Photon.
How many photons come from sun in one day? Right? Exactly. And sun has been actually providing photons since billions of years. So you can just see and how much how can the sun hold so many photons? The idea is we are like that photon and Krishna is like that sun. So you can see it is not like a space kind of thing. It's not a space. The spiritual soul has no need for space. I don't need to occupy any space. Because I'm in a body, I need to occupy certain spaces. As Atma, I'm just completely pervious matter. I can just go through this matter. Is that it?
Yeah. So when we go to spiritual world, we don't expand or anything. We just remain
So, in spiritual world, everybody, Jiva has a particular relationship with Krishna and you get that particular form that is suitable to serve Krishna.
But we are same. Like identity wise, we are the same.
Identifies we are always the eternal servant of Krishna. But some devotees become the gopis, some devotees become Krishna's parents, some devotees become his friend or his servants, or so on and so forth. It's a vast science, but it's there in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu.
Thank you. Hare Hare.
Alright, so we'll do a little bit of Bhagavatam. Please raise your hand if you don't have a Bhagavatam set in your home. Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. Anybody? 6, 7, 8. Alright. So we'll make sure that next time when you come, we'll have the sets ready for you if you want it. I would highly recommend it, even if you are a student living in a dorm. You just need half of this shelf space for having Bhagavatam. But Bhagavatam will give you such. We'll read few Bhagavatam verses. For those who are coming for the first time, we are going to read Bhagavatam verses from Srimad Bhagavatam where Prahalad Maharaj is offering prayers to Lord Narasimha Deva. Beautiful, beautiful prayers. And the prayers are, we'll go one by one of those prayers, that's what we said. We said we will read 3 prayers. And then, last time we completed the very first of the prayer. So we have a sliding scale. We will go to the second of those prayers today. And we will continue like that. So far, so good? This is the 7th canto of Bhagavatam. 7, 9, 10. Thank you. 7, 9, 10. Last time we did the. Right, thank you. So kindly repeat after me. And we do 10, 11, and 12 verses today. Vipradvishad guna yutadara vindanabha
Vipradvisad guna yudadara vindanabha
Padara vinda vimukachvapacham varishtam
Padara vinda vimukhat swapacham varishtam
Manye tadarpita mano vachane hitatha
Manye tadarpita mano vachane pitata
Pranam punati sakulam natu bhurimanah
Pranam punati sakulam purimana.
If a Brahmana has all 12 of the Brahminical qualifications as they are stated in the book called Sanat Sujata, but is not a devotee and is averse to the lotus feet of the Lord, he is certainly lower than a devotee who is a dog-eater but who has dedicated everything, mind, words, activities, wealth and life to the Supreme Lord. Such a devotee is better than such a Brahmana because the devotee can purify his whole family, whereas the so-called Brahmana in a position of false prestige cannot purify even himself.
Thank you. Text 11. नैवात्मना प्रभुरयं निजलाभपूर्णो
नैवात्मना प्रभुरयं निजलाभपूर्णो
मानं जनाद विदुषां करुणो वृणीते
मानं जनाद विदुषां करुणो वृणीते
यद्यज्जनो भगवते विदधीतमानो
यद्यज्जनो भगवते विदधीतमानम्
तच्चात्मने प्रतिमुखस्य यथा मुखश्री
तच्चात्मने प्रतिमुखस्य यथा मुखश्री
The Supreme Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is always fully satisfied in Himself. Therefore, when something is offered to Him, the offering, by the Lord's mercy, is for the benefit of the devotee. For the Lord does not need service from anyone. To give an example, if one's face is decorated, the reflection of one's face in a mirror is also seen to be decorated.
Very good. That's true. तस्मादहं विगतविप्लव ईश्वरस्य
तस्मादहं विगतविप्लव ईश्वरस्य
सर्वात्मना गृह्णामि यथा मनीषम्
सर्वात्मना गृह्णामि यथा मनीषम्
नीचो जया गुणविसर्गमनुप्रविष्टः
नीचो जया गुणविसर्गमनुप्रविष्टः
भूयेत येन हि पुमाननुवर्णितेन
पूयेत येन हि पुमाननुवर्णितेन
Therefore, although I was born in a demoniac family, I may without a doubt offer prayers to the Lord with full endeavor and as far as my intelligence allows. Anyone who has been forced by ignorance to enter the material world may be purified by the material life if he offers prayers to the Lord and hears the Lord's glories.
Thank you. So, in the first verse, we read that Prahalad Maharaj was saying that Brahmadhayo Suragana Munayo Tasita. He said that all these great personalities, they are most excellent and they are well placed to offer the prayers. Yet, they couldn't satisfy you. But how am I, who is born in Ugrajata or a demoniac family, going to satisfy you? And then in this particular verse, it is said Viprat Vishatpana Yutada Ravindanava. It is said that a Brahmana who is decorated with the 12 Brahmanical qualities, it's mentioned in the purport about what the 12 Brahmanical qualities are, like self-control, Shama, Dama, Sapa, and all those things. But if you are averse to the lotus feet of the Lord, if you don't want to worship the Lord, then you are more fallen than a dog eater who is a devotee of the Lord. Because a dog eater can liberate or educate or inspire his or her family in Krishna consciousness, whereas a Brahmana can never do his own family. Here, there is a point though, and did you observe this point? I can be a dog eater and yet be a devotee of Krishna. And I can be a Brahmana, fully decorated with Brahminical qualities and not be a devotee of Krishna. Have you seen that difference? It comes like, Brahmana means that, you are a devotee. A dog eater means you are a terrible person. But Bhagavatam doesn't say that. Bhagavatam says bhakti is not meant or is a property of a few people born in a certain class or born in a certain caste. Bhakti is applicable to everyone. And that is the point that is being made here. Anybody can adopt in any situation of life, because the reason is bhakti is so powerful that it purifies in whatever situation you are in. Whereas the other things, they don't do so much. The just attempting to serve the Lord and becoming His devotee is a tremendous boon that we can get in the human form of life. So one should pick it up. More questions on this? Yes, sir. We have to pass the mic, please. The mic will be coming to you in about 10 seconds.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Usually, like I have seen in India, visiting to a temple, like popular temples where we go, like there are long queues, and if some VVIP personality comes up, like they also go with some level of bhakti, and a common man also go with some level of bhakti. Then in that case, how the judgment is made, and it doesn't mean that a person who is not able to pay for VVIP, still he is not having faith or bhakti in him. How God justifies this thing, and like how it comes into the account of God.
Well, God did not make the rule of being a VVIP. It is the temple priests who kind of are giving the way. From God's perspective, you are equal. But given the modern way how the governments are dependent, how the temples are dependent on the governments, for example, or how there is a connection between it. And the other thing is, from previous time, even kings would get privileged to go to the temple. So they would go because they were representatives of God. Literally, a ruler means that I'm a representative of God. So that's how they would be given the position of entering. I have not heard anywhere where king said, I want to go first in the temple. In fact, was the opposite in the previous times. But in the modern time, in the Kali Yuga, things have changed a little bit. So if their fear is that if we don't allow the VVIP, then there can be some damage, or they can say negative thing about the temple. Or other things is if you give them proper respect, he may praise and all, get his all his followers. So there could be many material calculations like that. But from a spiritual perspective, Krishna doesn't see that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. There is an example of how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was cleansing the temple of Lord Jagannath, Gundichak and Marjana, and he saw that there were exalted people around helping him to clean. But there was one lady, her name was Dukhi. She was doing nothing. She was just getting pots of water and giving it to the devotees. That was her service. She was at a distance, she was just quiet, she was doing it. But the Lord saw that and gave special mercy to that lady. So Krishna doesn't consider, oh, you are a VVIP, then I'll give you some extra mercy. In fact, it is mentioned, those who have that kind of mentality, they cannot pray to Krishna. Manye Janavi, it's mentioned there. Is that helpful? In fact, it is mentioned in Bhagavatam. He mentions in the 10th canto, 88th chapter, 8th verse. He says that if I have show special mercy on someone, I take away all his wealth. And that person will be abandoned by the relatives, seeing him penniless, that all his relatives will abandon. Then he will be really in a painful situation, but he has to take full surrender. When one person came to me and said, I never fully surrendered to Krishna. He pointed this verse saying, he will take away all my wealth. I don't want it. I partially surrendered to Krishna. And that's a joke. We can discuss more on that. But more questions, comments. Please keep them coming. There are no silly, for those coming for the first time, there are no silly or there are no quote unquote stupid or yeah, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So on that point that you were mentioning, that verse, a thought arises that when there are these, wealthy, affluent people, very rich from a materialistic standpoint, they probably don't have, because they have so much of this going on around them, that they don't, I'm not saying everyone, but some, they don't have time to go towards devotion. Mm-hmm. And if there is a person who doesn't have a lot, who is kind of on the other end of the spectrum, poor, and they are kind of praying. So is this, I don't know how to ask, but would Krishna I mean, giving that person who is poor wealth might make him go away from Krishna.
Yes, that is a possibility. But Krishna has made sure that you have precluded that possibility. Prabhu Mukhar, would you bring up 5th canto, 19th chapter? I believe it is 27. I'm not sure. Kindly repeat after me. Satyam dishatyartitamartito nrinam.
Satyam dishatyartitamartito nrinam.
Okay, I was so sorry. Satyam dishatyartitamartito nrinam.
Satyam dishatyartitamartito nrinam.
Naivarthado yat punararthitayatah.
Naivartado yat punararthitayatah.
Swayam vidatte bhajatam anichchatam.
Swayam vidatte bhajatam anishchatam.
Ichchapidanam nijapada pallavam.
Ichchapidanam nijapada pallavam.
Since you have the mic, please do the translation.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead fulfills the material desires of a devotee who approaches him with such motives, but he does not bestow benedictions upon the devotee that will cause him to demand more benedictions again. However, the Lord willingly gives the devotee shelter at his own lotus feet, even though such a person does not aspire for it. And that shelter satisfies all his desires. That is the Supreme Personality's special mercy.
Like it. Because Krishna understands, Krishna knows that if I give too much of wealth for this person, he will come back and ask me for more wealth. It's just the way the world works. So he says, I'll give this person the shelter at my lotus feet, because that will fulfill our desires. I'll give a simple example. Any mothers, please raise hands. Maybe that will be lessons for about we mothers. Do they every day ask you, faithfully ask you that I want only broccoli and some steamed vegetables? Or they ask you like, I want candy, cookie, and maybe soda somewhere or drink, right? Do you give Mata all day long? You will give them only cookie, candies, and biscuits. You don't have that kind of money. What kind of mean mothers are you? Maybe you don't have that money. This is exactly Krishna's mentality. Like a mother, he knows that if I give more and more, they will ruin their own health, their own spiritual health. So even though mother has the capacity, the mother has the potential, she will not give, because she knows that this is really dangerous for my child. It is going to spoil the health. So Krishna is also very careful. He says in Bhagavad Gita, Pitahamasya Jagata Mata Dhata Pitama. I am the mother, father, and the grandson of the universe. So he also makes sure that he'll never give you more than what you ask for. Very helpful. Thank you. Yes.
Just a couple of
yes,
follow. And maybe what you're saying is that, say, people in this room, and we consider ourselves grateful that we are, say, in the middle of the spectrum, right? So we should not be praying for money, because that's not what goal of our life should be, right? Because we are not in that lower end state, that we have to ask for money, right? Would you say that's the...
So, we can ask Krishna for money, provided the money is not for our own personal enjoyment. So, for example, Srila Prabhupada, he came to West in 1965. He came from India with few Bhagavatam sets, a few copies of Bhagavatam, exactly 40 rupees in his pocket, $7. Nothing. And then he had to build this worldwide movement, so he asked for money, but all the money was completely for Krishna. So if you are in a position that you can use that wealth exclusively for Krishna, then you can ask Krishna, that wealth will not delude you. That wealth will not take you away from Krishna. Just like the mother's thing is, my health should not be soiled, so I won't give. But if the child automatically is very healthy, conscious, then mother can give. Then the child will refuse the chocolate thing and just smile. So you can see how it works. Is that helpful? More questions? We'll have Kirtan, but before that we'll touch on Lord Ram. Couple of lessons. There are many lessons we can learn from Lord Ram's life. So we know the story of how Lord Ram wanted to bridge the way to Lanka, right? And it's the Ravan had said that he didn't need immunity from animals and human beings. He was so arrogant. He said to Brahma, "Ye kya bigaad lenge mera? So I don't need it." So then Rama assembled the army of Vanaras, monkeys and bears, and then he was about charging to Lanka. Then the ocean came, and then they had to build a bridge, correct? And then, they started taking huge boulders and then putting it to the water. The bridge was built. So the boulders went to the bottom. And then, what was the suggestion? How floating? What was the means of floating?
Write the name.
Write the name of Ram on the rocks, and the rocks floated. The lesson we learn is that the names of God can help us float or cross over the material existence. If you don't take the name of the Lord, then you will be sunk in the ocean of material world. So that is one example or one thing that we learn from the life of Lord Ram. Hanuman was actually taking boulders the size of mountains and putting it. And there were small squirrels that were just they could barely take anything, and they were just putting it, and they were just working really hard for Lord Ram. It was not that Lord Ram was saying to Hanuman, "You are the best," and the squirrels, he was saying, "Total losers, why are you coming here?" But he was so impressed by the seva of squirrels that, as you know, the story of how he touched the squirrels and the 3 lines came about. So it is not the quantity of service. Sometimes you will be doing your seva to the Lord, and you will not get recognition, you will not get name, or you will not get fame. But it is okay. The Lord is seeing your service, and He will reward you accordingly at any point of time. So one should do the best to kind of render seva, and Lord Ram is equally, merciful. Mercy is not going to flow because I have done so much and He's done so little. Squirrel is equally as merciful, or equally as dear to Lord Ram as is Hanuman. So those are the 2 lessons we learn. Right? Because Ramayana is a story that we can spend a lot of sessions, but we started the Bhagavatam, so I want to continue with the Bhagavatam. At least we'll do Prahalad Maharaj prayers. Is that okay? More questions, comments, concerns? Yes, sir.
You touched upon the spirit. Spirit in India only have 3 lines, what you plus Brahma stuff. Whereas spirit, what I've seen in US, it doesn't have anything.
Yeah, I'm not a botanist, and
I observed. Earlier. Then I was thinking whether this is squirrel, appear like a squirrel, but what is this? But everything what squirrel, what I have seen in India, will have like
correct
inheritance, it has come in as a gene, part of a gene.
Correct. Very nice observation. Thank you for sharing.
Here also available, sir. I've sent 3 lines of.
Yeah, they must be there somewhere.
I was baffled first time when I saw it here.
Yeah, actually, here the screen is also much bigger. It looks like a.
That's you can see.
I know, everything is big here.
Here everything is available to it. In India, it is bit scarcity.
Yep. Yep.